Good morning, freedom fighters. It has been a while since I have recorded a video, and actually, this is one of my New Year's resolutions. Um, I want to start uh, posting a little bit more on our Freedom Excursion website and do a video blog. So, hopefully, this will benefit you guys and let me know if you like the topics that I'm doing. So, anyway, I want to talk to you today about something that the Lord has been speaking to me about, and hopefully, in the area of freedom and inner healing, it'll minister to you. Years ago, I went to Ohio State University, and I still have tons of friends from college and the church that I went to up in Ohio. And one of my dear friends, Carrie Price, I remember that was back in the late '80s, early '90s when the getting the women getting their nails done was really popular, and so that was back in the day where those fingernails were like super thick and huge and big. And so Carrie came to church one day and she had just got her nails done, and I looked at her nails and very innocently I said, "Are those fake?" And she looked at me and she was so disgusted. And she said, "You are brutally honest." And my nickname for after that was Clint Collins, brutally honest. And she'd always come by me and say, "You're so fake." And that really stood out in my mind for years. And over the years, obviously, I tempered my bluntness, but it really represented something. No offense, Carrie. I'm sure she's watching this today. But it really set this precedence of the way I am, the way I think is not right. Because when I looked at Carrie that day, I wasn't trying to be negative, I wasn't trying to be offensive. I called something as I saw it. And I saw that and I go, "Oh, I actually thought they were very pretty." And I used the wrong word and called them fake. But really, over the years, I've noticed that there's been this assignment of the enemy. I have this saying that every gift is equally your curse if it's not submitted to the Holy Spirit. And so, one of the gifts that the Lord gave me early on, when I was even a little kid, is there would be this beautiful room, but I would see the crack in the wall. And I used to always beat myself up over that. Like, why can't I see what everyone else sees? Why can't I see how pretty it is? And I would think the room was pretty, but I would notice the one thing that needs to be fixed. I was even talking to my mom recently, and when I was a kid, my mom and dad were divorced. And when I'd go over to my mom's house for the weekend, I would always do something to fix it. So whether it was my bedroom, I used to collect baskets. How weird. I used to collect baskets at the thrift store, and I'd nail them to the wall. And because we couldn't paint the rent house, I'd knock baskets all over the wall and kind of make really cool designs. Or I remember in the backyard, I'd take clippings when I'd go walking, and I'd take clippings of plants, and I would, put it in water so they wouldn't start to root, and then I'd plant them in the backyard. And so I had this little garden when I was a kid, and really it was all about me seeing something that needed to be fixed, and then I would fix it. But what happens is sometimes the enemy comes in and the enemy tries to tell you that your gift is actually a curse, and you begin to despise the very thing that God created you to do. And so, what it developed early on in me was I just kept my mouth shut a lot of the times because I felt like all I saw was the negative, all I saw was bad things, and I always felt very misunderstood. And so I pressed that part of my personality down for years and years and years. And recently, I had an incredible revelation. One of the things that we've always done as pastors is we do the DISC personality profile, DISC. And the D is dominant. You can think of Donald Trump, obviously, as a D personality. Then there's the I, that's outgoing, interpersonal. Maybe someone like Ellen DeGeneres would be an I personality, very outgoing. Then you have a C personality. That's someone that's very detailed, organized, administrative. So maybe a Martha Stewart would maybe be a C, DC personality. And then you have an S personality. The S personality doesn't really like change, likes everything very methodical. Those are the type of people that are incredible at serving faithfully in your church. And so for years, I would take the DISC personality profile, and I was always an IS personality, which means I was very outgoing, but then I didn't like change. I was very methodical. I just kind of did the same thing over and over again. But the problem that I always found is there was this element of me that never fit the profile, and that was, in certain settings, I was able to be very bold and direct if I needed to be, and I couldn't figure that out. And I also used to lie to myself because statistically, megachurch pastors were ID personalities. And I used to tell myself, well, that's not me. I can't do that because when I would do these profiles, the D part of my personality literally was non existent. And so, about 6 years ago, Kenny and I, we went on a season of tremendous transition, if you will. And it really caused me to look at myself, to look at what I want, what I don't want. And through this series of transition, recently I took the DISC personality profile again. I was at a leadership meeting, and a part of the tools that we were using is we were all going to do the DISC personality profile. And because I'm so expert in this, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I'll take it, and it'll be the same as it has been for the past 20 years. I will be an IS personality. Well, I came to an incredible revelation. When I did the DISC personality profile this time, I was an ID personality across all the graphs. And my S was actually below the midline. And I was saying to myself, where in the world did that come from? It has to be wrong. So I actually took it 3 different times. And all 3 different times, I was an ID personality. And the revelation that the Lord gave me is early on in my childhood and even into young adulthood, this portion of my personality was never in an environment where it was supported or encouraged. Matter of fact, it was the opposite. You're so negative, you're so harsh, you're so this. And I had this label, and so subconsciously, I pressed this portion of my personality down so much that literally when I would take the DISC test in the past, that D was literally non-existent. And it was something that was a lie of the enemy. We talk about this in Freedom Excursion a lot, the lie of the enemy. What are the things that you believe about yourself that causes you to behave in a way that is contrary to who God created you to be? And that was definitely me. And so I have recently been embracing this portion of my personality that in times past was misunderstood. Now, let me tell you this about our personalities. All of our personalities, whether you are a DISC, all of our personalities need to be submitted to the Holy Spirit. So just because I have D in my personality, that doesn't mean all of a sudden I get just to walk in and I get to rip everybody a new one and tell everybody what they should do and not really care about people's feelings and just slice and dice. Not at all. Quite the opposite. Because there's that element of that D personality in me, I always have to submit that. Lord, how would you like me to present this? Now, let me say this. If you are a D personality, that means that sometimes you're going to say things that maybe is not widely received because you might be the element to bring change into that situation. But what I've learned is over the years to not receive into my spirit things that are contrary to who Jesus says I am. Because really, it's all about identity. The Lord places identity into our DNA when we are born. And we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so this portion of my personality, God obviously gave it to me for a divine purpose. I know that if you've ever gone to one of our Freedom Excursion weekends, you have seen that portion of my personality in the weekend where someone might come up and they might be sharing something to kind of win me over, and I can just see right through it. And I will ask the tough questions that will break that person to get into their heart and finally be honest and transparent with themselves. And I've always had that ability. You know, people come into my office and I'll say, well, how you doing? And they'll say, oh, I'm fine. And the first thing I do, I'll say, well, what does that mean? And then as I do that, I'm grabbing the Kleenexes because within a couple of minutes, people are boohoo crying in my office, and they're sharing their heart to me. And so I've learned as of recently that I have to embrace this element of my personality, and that God literally put me here on this earth to bring change. If you've ever gone to one of my purpose seminars, Kami and I do a seminar where we talk about finding your specific purpose. And my specific purpose that God created me for is to take that which is broken and ugly and make it mended and beautiful. Now, if that is my personality, if that is my DNA, if that is my purpose in life, and that's what God's called me to do in life, well, of course, I just want to be in everything that's always happy, always nice, always pretty. But where does the Lord usually put us? He usually puts us in the opposite of our purpose so that we can bring that change. So, of course, the Lord's going to put me in situations that need mending, that need fixing. And I am used to be that voice to that. And so, what I want to encourage you today is whatever your personality is, whether you are a D and dominant and a direct personality, you're I, you're outgoing, you're interpersonal, you're all about relationships. Maybe you're a C, you're detailed, you're administrative, you like to sit at the table and do numbers, or you're an S personality, you just don't need the limelight and you're happy as a clam sitting in the back. Ask yourself, what has God created me for? And what is my unique personality? Because you're not just an I, you're not just an S, you're a mix of all of them. And as you understand who God created you to be, you can more effectively walk in this life. And the second part is make sure that you temper that to the Holy Spirit, your gift. And so if you're an I personality, which I'm an I personality, one of the things that I always have to work on is don't talk too much. And it's a constant battle. Whenever I'm in a meeting, don't ask me a question because I'll tell you. And I have to learn to allow other people to speak, and I have to learn to listen to people. Well, I understand that, but that doesn't mean that my I portion of my personality is wrong. It's just that I understand the negatives of those personalities. And so if you're one of those C personalities, a lot of times C personalities, they are so bogged down with the details that they don't ever look up and interact with humans, with people, and understand there's a personal element to things. And so you're so by the book and you're so legalistic on the format or the system that you lose sight that it's about people. Or maybe you're an S personality and you're just very comfortable just being in the background. No one gets to see you. Now, what does it benefit a man to shrink so small that no one sees him? So you have to, maybe your personality, if you're an S personality, you don't really like the limelight, that you have to get yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, overcome some of your fears and get out there because you have something to say. Because let me tell you, I believe that since Adam to today, there's been no same thumbprint, even identical twins do not have the same thumbprint. That is how uniquely made you are, and that your gift and your talent and your ability is so uniquely made that if you do not fulfill your purpose, then it's just lost. Because someone might do kind of what you do, but they can't do it exactly like you. And so I encourage you, embrace who you are, be confident in the identity that God has given you, and walk in boldness in that, because God has given you that personality, that gift for a divine purpose. And as you tap into it, you will change the world for the glory of God. So anyway, I hope you are encouraged by that today, and be looking for more freedom fighter videos coming up. This is my goal for this year. And if you're encouraged by this, please do a comment. Let me know if you enjoy this, or maybe there's a topic that you want that you would like me to expound upon. Let me know that as well. So have a blessed day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.